rarely ever do lives. I rarely ever do lives. So this is something new for me. I didn't make no announcements. I didn't tell nobody. So this is what I'm gonna get on, and it's one of those things that I'm just being spontaneous. Yeah, I'm being spontaneous. Wanted to come in and talk to you guys because I have hardly ever do lives. But someone has been urging me to do lives. And I was initially supposed to announce the live. And when I realized I didn't announce the live, I was like, I was supposed to be sitting the little, posts up and creating these little moments where I'm telling people I'm going live at X amount of time and X amount of day or whatever. And I never did do that because I have been busy. But guess what? I've been busy with you know. So what I've been working on is what I always been working on when I worked on before is that I've been moving, and I know I did a video 3 years ago about me taking a business to Africa. And my main and primary focus has always been business because that's what I do in America. I do a call center, I do a consulting agency, and I always done real estate as far as a real estate broker. So I noticed that I had not done a live, and this is spontaneous. So I wanted to talk to you guys about where I'm at with that, give you guys an update. One, you really shouldn't export or import anything from America to Africa, okay? Because, baby, let me tell you, honey, baby, I had nice things in my house, okay, that I did not want to depart with. My throne chairs, my import tea set that was from Italy, everything. So I did not want to part with any of those things. It cost me a lot of money. I wanted to keep it. It was rare. I had nice things. But unfortunately, to bring those things in, it cost me too much money. Okay, so I don't recommend you guys to import anything in unless it's like pictures or something memorabilia or something like that you need, something like that, something small that can go in a box. Really, because they have everything you need, especially for those who are coming to South Africa. You don't need to bring nothing, okay? Because they got better furniture, better everything, and better just doing everything. So I don't encourage any of that. Clothes, I'm gonna be honest with you. I even have made the decision, except for my Tory Burch purses and stuff that I paid almost $1,000 for over. Some of those things I'm gonna keep. But for the other mediocre clothes that what I mean, that wasn't like it's super expensive for me, I decided to leave those behind too. I sure did to maybe lessen my load. So I had to be paying for all these clothes that if it wasn't something I paid 100, 2, 3, 400, 600, $1,000 or so for more, it got left behind. Because why would I want to ship something that I can go, into South Africa and just go buy for lesser than what I paid for it in the beginning? Because shopping in South Africa is actually cheaper than the United States. From the food, from the clothes to the furniture, everything is like cheaper. It makes you feel like you're 80% off. Then they have these clearance and outlets of the same brands like Nike and even down to makeup like MAC. They got a outlet in South Africa where they sell MAC products, like real authentic MAC products that are like clearance. And they have like a clearance every day, so it's like every day Black Friday. And you end up paying like $4, $5, $6, $7 for stuff that we would pay like $80 or $100 in the States. So really and truly, um, um, it really is something that you don't need to ship in. You're gonna pay too much for it. I don't recommend shipping anything in. I went over, and I'm sorry guys, my allergies is kind of sniffing up a little bit, so I'm a little bit, so y'all excuse me, I'm okay. It really is allergies. So then it came to a point of, okay, I was trying to ship it. I looked into it many times, and now I'm like, nah, I'm good. I don't need it. I don't need it because where I'm going to South Africa, they got way better, cheaper. It's not worth it. It's not worth me paying. Then stuck at the port that they taxes and what they're gonna value your stuff for is gonna be 200% more. So don't 200% more than what you value it for. So it ain't worth it. Leave it. Trust me. Leave it. I know you feel like it's the best. It was the greatest thing you ever had. Trust me, leave it. Because you're going to get down there and you're going to realize they got better stuff and you're going to wish that you had left it. I'm saving you 10, 15 grand at the port. I know so many people bought their stuff, shipped their stuff to the port. Some people couldn't get their stuff out the port because it's more than what they could afford to get out. So you don't pay your money from America, then you get to South Africa or get to any African country and you can't get out the port. Just leave it. Just leave it. It ain't worth the headache because you don't want to start your whole move settling in the country that you already got a bad vibe on. Just leave it. Okay. Secondly, now that we've got that out the way, I looked into real estate. And I looked in real estate in Kenya because I got a lot of Kenyan family over there. What's up, my Kenyan people? You know what I mean? And looked at real estate in South Africa because, I love real estate. That's what I do here in the States as well. Hey, South Africa real estate was much cheaper. And I love the fact that, well, the real surprise is I am a actual real estate agent in South Africa. So by me being a real estate agent in South Africa, I was able to attain that. And I did it because I really like the real estate there. It's cheaper, it's better, it's a little bit comparable to what you're used to in the States. And it's what I need for my family because I'm bringing my son in and I'm also bringing my mom. Yeah, excuse me. So, it's allergies. So, with that being said, I was able to get that done. So, for me, the real estate was better in South Africa. Kenya has great real estate. Ghana has great real estate. It's all about what you can afford. And you have to keep in mind what you're working with in your circumstances with your family. If you're a family of one or two, things might look a little bit different in your affordability range. If you're a family of maybe 4 or 5 people, things might look a lot different because you have a lot more expenses. So it's all about what you can afford, how big your family, and how big you need that space to be. For me, because I have my mom now, because since this last video that I've done, I've lost my father. My father has passed away, so that's one of the reasons why it's kind of been delayed of me getting on here doing lives and kind of updating you guys. I lost my father, and I have my mom. My mom's up in age, and so she's elderly, so I will have her with me, and I have my son. And because I have my mom and my son was born premature, so my circumstances of what I need might be a little bit different. But I needed space, y'all, because my mama needed I'm gonna be a caregiver, but I'm gonna need a break too. So my thing is I'm gonna need to be having space to have an in-house nurse or nanny, and we have the back porch open because I have my dog open, so I might see a fly. So I needed that space, and I also needed to have an in-house nanny because my son was born premature and he has some needs that he needs to be addressed, which I'll be a primary caregiver, but I also like to have that support in having that staff there in the house. So I will have different staff of XYZ in my house, and I needed that space, right? So just like my needs is a little bit different. I need more space. I need certain amount of things in my reach, right? So for me, the real estate in South Africa, with the affordability and what they include in those homes, was the best fit for me. Now, for the next person, they might not need all that. You know what I mean? That might not be one of your things that you got going on. I'm just telling you where I'm coming from and why I chose the route that I chose and what I've gotten over the 3-year research that I put into this from country to country and where I'm at with everything. So yeah, so that's where I'm at with the real estate. Business wise, now I have a lot of American style businesses. I'm not saying that they can't do well in other countries, but when I looked into the laws, I had more red tape. I had more red tape with Kenya. I love Kenya. I had more red tape, with doing things in Ghana. I had more red tape So for me, I would recommend a country for a lot of Black Americans who can come in and who are, not used to a lot of red tape, not going to want to bargain to change for commercial real estate, or just your own personal real estate you need to live in, or even just getting the needs and buying things and shopping to set up the business or your home. If you're not ready to negotiate and kind of have those hiccups and go back and forth, and you're not the person that has that type of patience, I recommend. Now, I don't have patience, but again, I just told you guys I have my mom because my dad passed away, and I have my son who's premature. I have patience for them, but I don't have patience to deal with that. Okay? Let's get that straight. I have patience for them and my business, but I don't have patience to deal with that. So, what I am saying is if you don't have patience to negotiate, to go back and forth and to deal with the price changes because of your American accent, or you don't have patience to deal with the formality because of the unbalance of the government and the systems when it comes to land purchasing, whether it be commercial or personal real estate, or whether it be your own private thing that you're doing, I would recommend you going to South Africa because it's an easier process and an easier transition in enforcing the systems and enforcing the laws. As an American, I can come in and actually own my property. I don't have to do a lease. And if that's going to be a problem with you doing a lease, Kenya has leases, Ghana has leases, South Africa doesn't. But however, some parts of four ways, so you do have leases. So be careful in those terms when you're purchasing property as well. They do in some parts over there. So, but for the most part, everything is you can own the title right out. And that means you can pass it down from generation to generation. You own it. There's no lease. There's this and that. So that was the easiness of that purchasing part. Okay, now let's get to finances. Let me get into the finance a little bit of this call, not call, but video. It's I'm getting a little bit deeper because we all know that Africa is a cash society in general, so to speak. And I know a lot of you guys are moving to certain countries. You're setting off everything you got. You come in with all your life savings. And unfortunately, I had to witness some people who didn't get to, talk to me one-on-one and get the formality and the legalness and the research that I had put in over the years to kind of warn them of, how that works in the legal format. You really have to know what you're doing, and know what the system is on that. They lost everything, their whole life savings. They went broke within a year or two, and they had to go back to America. um for that reason, just because a country currency, when it convert to dollars, sounds cheaper, it doesn't mean the process is going to be cheaper for you. Again, there's one of the things I just mentioned before is some countries you have to, when they hear your accent, you're gonna have to be negotiating. There's certain land governments that's not quite in place, so there might be some mishandlement of the titles, and you might lose out on purchasing because they don't have a stable system in place. And if you don't have that patience to work through that process, and if you don't have that cushion and the expectation that you could lose some money while you're learning this process, then I would recommend you to transition to a country that kind of like basically is easier and you don't have so much of those issues to deal with. So that was another reason why, on the finance side, for me, dealing with the fact that I lost my dad since the 3 years that I've done the last video, telling you guys to bring my business to to Africa in general, and then I have my son who's premature. My finances, and I have my business. Just because I got it, don't mean I can be reckless. I have a family, so for me, I couldn't afford the gamble. I couldn't afford the gamble of the fact that I could be scammed at my property, and I was at a higher risk. I couldn't afford that, but I wanted to come and bring my business to Africa. And so for me, I couldn't do it because of my circumstances. I had too many people depend on me. I have my ugly mother. I have my son who's premature. I had already enough responsibilities, and I could not afford to lose 100,000, 50,000, 200,000, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, I couldn't go to a place that had a proper system in place that would kind of lessen that risk. And that's what I came to the conclusion on when I looked at Ghana and when I looked at Kenya. Kenya's a little bit less uncertain, but they still have some of the same issues. So when I looked at South Africa, the purchasing system was about the same as America. So they have like a little system in place. They have an inspections and all that stuff. What we call inspection, they call it a little bit different. They have all those things that come out and see the property, all that stuff. So it's a little bit more security for me. That's another thing. And looking at my finances on top of that, South Africa, unlike many countries, with you being an American citizen, just as you are, you can get a mortgage loan, in which they call a bond, for 50% of the home buying cost. So for a lot of Black Americans and just diasporas that are kind of trying to expat to an African country, we know Africa is pretty much a cash buying system. So when you're expatting, you have to know how much you got, and you got to make that money stretch over the years. And unfortunately, when you go look at real estate in other countries like I looked at in Kenya and Ghana, they want pretty much all that money up front, and they would do a payment plan, but it's like 6 months, maybe a year, and I think the most I've seen is 2 years. Well, at the location that I was looking at, which is Airport Hills, East Airport Hills or something like that, I was looking at, the property there was very pricey, and I was looking at about 300 some thousand, 200 to 300 some thousand, and you have to pay it off in about 2 years. And I think somebody gave me like 3.5 years. That's a lot of money to pay off in 3.5 years when you're expatting to another country, to a foreign territory, because you got to get situated in a whole new system, a whole new world, and you got to have cushion because they don't have credit cards like they do in America. So do you want to make that investment and pay all that money up front when you don't have credit cards to fall back on? When you can't just go walk down the street, or not just literally walk down the street, but you just can't go get a job paying 6 figures and be good like you could do in America. It's a whole different system, whole different economic standing, whole different market. So you have to understand your finances truly and what you're willing to risk and what you're willing to actually spend. And you need to look at it for now, and you need to look at it for later. Because if you don't, you will be like a lot of people who go broke within a year or two because they took their life savings and sold everything. And in a year or two, they went broke and they had to go back to America and go back to a job. I ain't going back to a job. That ain't for me. I got me a career. My career is my business, okay? Okay, so for me, having my elderly mom, my son is disabled, losing my father in that 3-year time span of doing this research, you really have to know yourself. And I knew what I was going to be able to tolerate and what I was going to be able to live without, and what I was willing to lose if all case worst scenario. That's the mindset you need repatriating to Africa with a business. Because you got to have money for your business, your family, yourself. If you got any special needs issues going on, you need money for that. So you need to know yourself, and you need to know where you stand on all 3 levels. So for me, South Africa, just knowing that I have the ability to get what they call a bond, which is equivalent to a mortgage loan, what we call in the United States, at least half the price without even being a resident or a citizen of South Africa, just walking in right now, where you at? If you're in America right now, you can qualify for a bond at half the price of the actual cost of the house. And then you can split those payments over a time frame of 30 years, up to 30 years. They would give you up to 30 years to pay that bond off, aka mortgage off. What does that do to your finance? That gives you more money to cushion yourself and pace yourself over the years, in case you have a family crisis, something happens, an emergency, you, God forbid you get sick, God forbid for one of your family members get sick or your kids get sick or some crazy happens, who knows? You got cushion because they will give you a loan for 50% just being a citizen from America. Nothing else attached on buying your house. So that was a good thing to know that I could get that type of loan and pace it out over 30 years. That put more money in my pocket. That took a lot out of me spending my own cash, and I can use funding to help fill in the little gaps so that I can have more of my own cash for my own cash flow that I needed to have it for when I needed to have it for. So that was another thing that I chose South Africa. And that's another reason why I would ask Black Americans to think about that as well. Are you willing to pay all cash for a house and make all those payments in a minimum of 6 months? So if the house costs 200,000 or the house costs 300,000, are you willing to pay all that all up front in 6 months to a year or two? Can you do that? Do you think it'd be comfortable? Do you have room for expenses, emergencies? Do you really think you'll be able to survive off of that? Is that something that you really can? If all else fails, how much can you lose if it don't play out for you? What if that land becomes a scam and it belongs to somebody else? Can you lose 200,000? Because that's what you need to ask yourself. Finance is a big thing when you're trying to move in, and it's got so many angles that you got to look at it. So for me, knowing that I can get a mortgage loan for half the amount and finance it up to 30 years took a lot of the risk. And knowing that they had a process similar to how you do it in the United States, they do inspections, yada, 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 that took a lot of a risk as well, knowing that I have a lesser chance of being scammed and it's not all my money. So that was a better thing. Now, last but not least, people ask about jobs. SA got jobs, but we don't want to be taking jobs from the locals. They have jobs, and honestly, you don't want to get paid for less than what you would get paid in the U.S. for some of the jobs. Now, the lower paying jobs, they pay extremely low, and they pay extremely low compared to what you do in the United States for that same job at the lower paying jobs. The only decent paying jobs are anything that's higher up, like management, engineering, something that's extremely up. Something that you're doing tech or you're doing some type of medical doctor, you up there. You know what I mean? You up there in the ranks. You're like tier 3, 4, 5. That pays a lot of money and could be comfortable. But finding a job is not like you're going to get hired tomorrow. They do the interview process just like they do in the States. You're talking about a job that pays 6 figures. You want to find can you find a job in SA that pays 6 figures? Yes, you can. Can you find a job that pay 50,000, 80,000, 70,000, 60,000, over 100,000 in SA? Yes, you can. But do you want to go in looking for that while trying to build a business? No, you don't want to depend on that because it might not happen right away. It might take you a year. It could take you 6 months in interviews, and you might not hear back in 9 months. So it's not a guarantee, but is it there? Yes, it's also there. Is it easier for you to have that as a cushion in the back of your head versus going to another country, as I was looking at between Ghana and Kenya? Yeah, it will be easier in that sense. I'm just going to straight up answer. It is easier. So that's just something I just threw out there. So knowing where you at, knowing what you're looking at, and your research is going to have to save you. So the 3 things I cover over this interview, or this, what you want to call this video, this random live that I decided to do that I never really do, is real estate, which also a part of your finances. It's like finance point A or point B, or what you want to call it. And then you want to look at, your own situation. Like I looked at my private situation, what I got going in my life and what I needed. Also funds, how I was going to compensate some of the funds I'm looking at. Can I get loans? Yes, I could get loans. What's that do with my finance? It make my finance more affordable, less risk, and more cash reserves. And that's always a good thing. The last thing I want to talk about, and since I didn't mention that my son is premature, is the schools. The schools were very great from what I looked at. The schools were very great. There were private schools, there were schools in gated communities. We were looking at schools in gated communities. and I thought they were phenomenal for my son. Now, my son's premature. So we look at different things when we deal with kids that are born premature, right? For you, you might, it might not matter. You might say Ghana's great, Kenya's great, all the schools in Africa and private schools in different parts of Africa are great. That might not be such a picky issue, but it was something for me to really look at because I do have a son that's premature. And I will get more in deep into that and what I was actually looking at in the next video. So what do I recommend for Black Americans coming to Africa? You really have to know yourself. You have to know your finance. You need to know what you can lose, because honey, you will lose if you don't plan right. You gotta be expecting to lose some money somewhere, because okay, it is what it is. And not shipping nothing and creating more expenses while you're trying to expat. And what I would recommend for you to do, it depends on if you got patience. It depends on if you're wanting to take that risk and pay all your money for all your things such as your housing, etc. up front. And it depends on what your family needs is. And because that's going to dictate a lot of things. You need to sit down with a piece of paper, find out what your family needs. Who's all in your family? Who's all coming with you? For me, I have my elderly mom and my premature son. And so I need, in addition to myself, I need like a in-house nurse, basically, to kind of help out, right? So my needs a little bit different. That means I need a bigger space. So me coming in with just a 2-bedroom apartment, it might not be an ideal situation for, for me. I might need a 3-bedroom house or 4-bedroom house or 5-bedroom house in a maze quarter. You know what I mean? And I might need it to be in this price range because that's what I need and this is my price range. Sorting out your needs is number one. Knowing your limitations is number two. And knowing what you can lose is number three. So you need to write that down. Say, how much money can you lose? Can you afford to lose $10,000? Can you afford to lose $2,000? Can you afford to lose $20,000? Can you afford to pay all your real estate up front? Because obviously you can't repatriate nowhere without putting something where you can lay your head at. So that's the number one thing. What can you do? You have to be honest with yourself. Don't go in there as some airhead like you're just gonna land and everything's gonna go perfect. No, nowhere is perfect. Hell, America ain't even perfect. Hell, I'm just being real. So don't have this airhead expectations like everything's gonna go perfect. Budget, plan, have expectations, and have some reality. And if you do those three, you'll be fine. My next video that I will get back on here and talk about is going to go in deep into schools. It's going to go in deep into lifestyle. Schools and lifestyle is what I'm going to talk to you guys on the next video. But I wanted to give you an update from the last video because I did talk about bringing my business to South Africa and I was going to be looking at shipping and all this stuff. Honey, no, I'm not no more. Because my stuff ain't getting lost at the port. Because I'm not going to be paying 200% more than what I paid for. Even though I love my throne chairs and I love the stuff that I had, nah. Stuff that's coming with me is memorabilia. I'm not even bringing my clothes. South Africa got some cheap outlets and shit. I'll get some clothes there. Forget all that. Hell no. Excuse my French. It is what it is. Why would I want to spend all this money shipping stuff that I can go get better and cheaper? No, it don't make no sense. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. That's how I roll. So stay tuned for my next video. I appreciate you guys popping in. Sorry for not giving you guys no warning or updates, but I wanted to just kind of show my face, let you know what I've been going through, what happened between the 3 years to now, how much of research and what did I finally landed on. My country of choice is South Africa that I landed on. And I told you guys why. For my own personal reasons. Now, you got to find out what your personal reasons are and see if we got something similar and see what you can do. And then in my next video, I can go in detail and maybe it can give you some more clarity. But assimilating is about money and what you can do and what you're willing to lose. That's going to help you narrow down your countries that you want to repatriate to. And then that's going to let you know what laws you'll be able to deal with and what you can't deal with. For now, I'm out. God bless. For my Muslim people, I'll see you guys, inshallah. For my Hindu people, listen, I'm not going to go down the list. Y'all know what it is. Peace out. Love. your American girl in SA. How you cut the damn thing off?